Today, the FIFA World Cup is the biggest television event on Earth. Billions of people can watch the same match at almost exactly the same moment. Every goal is captured from dozens of camera angles. Every celebration travels across continents in seconds. Its broadcasting rights are now worth billions of dollars. But the World Cup was not born for television. When the tournament began, most of the world never saw a single kick of the ball. Many supporters only discovered the result days later through newspapers. Others gathered around crackling radios, trying to imagine what their eyes could not see. The few moving pictures that survived were blurry, silent, and often shown long after the final whistle. There were no live broadcasts across continents, no instant replays, no color, no satellites, no global audience watching together. So how did a tournament that almost nobody could see become the most valuable television spectacle in sport? The answer is not just the history of football. It is the story of how every World Cup pushed broadcasting technology beyond its limits, until the beautiful game could finally belong to the entire world. To understand that transformation, we have to return to a time when watching the World Cup was almost impossible. When the first FIFA World Cup began in 1930, seeing the tournament was a privilege reserved for only a few thousand people. The matches were played in Montevideo, Uruguay, far beyond the reach of almost every football fan on Earth. Crossing the Atlantic by ship could take weeks. For most supporters, making that journey was simply impossible. So they searched for another way to follow the game. Newspapers became football's first window to the World Cup. Every morning, fans rushed to read match reports and study printed photographs. Those black and white images were often the only glimpse they would ever have of the tournament. Radio brought something newspapers never could. For the first time, people could hear the roar of a distant crowd almost as it happened. Commentators painted the match with nothing but their voices. Listeners imagined every pass, every tackle, and every goal inside their own minds. No pictures, only words and imagination. For an entire generation, that was what watching football meant. The World Cup was already capturing hearts across continents. But one enormous problem remained. The world could hear football. It still could not see it. Changing that single reality would challenge inventors, broadcasters, engineers, and every World Cup that followed. For years, football had lived inside the imagination. Now, engineers wanted to give it a face. Television was still a young invention. Its cameras were enormous, heavy, and incredibly difficult to operate. Broadcasting a football match demanded far more than simply pointing a camera at the pitch. Every movement had to be captured across nearly 100 meters of grass. Every cable, every lens, and every transmission pushed the technology of its time to the limit. When the World Cup slowly entered the television era, only a small part of the audience could actually watch it live. The images were black and white. They were often blurry. By modern standards, they looked remarkably primitive. Yet to the people seeing those pictures for the first time, it felt almost magical. For the first time, millions no longer had to imagine a World Cup goal. They could witness it with their own eyes. Football was no longer just a story told by newspapers and radio commentators. It had become a shared visual experience. Without realizing it, the World Cup had just found its greatest stage, and television had found the perfect spectacle. But one obstacle still separated football from becoming a truly global event. Color was not enough. The signal itself had to cross oceans. Seeing the World Cup was no longer enough. Now the challenge was making the entire world see it at the same time. That dream demanded something no broadcaster had ever attempted before. The television signal had to travel far beyond the stadium. It had to cross mountains, oceans, and entire continents. During the early television era, that seemed almost impossible. Each World Cup pushed broadcasters to build larger transmission networks than ever before. Countries that had never shared a live sporting event suddenly became connected by the same images. For the first time, millions of strangers could react to the very same goal in the very same moment. Football was no longer limited by geography. It had begun to erase distance itself. The World Cup was quietly becoming one of the world's first truly global live experiences. Engineers celebrated every successful transmission. Broadcasters invested more cameras, more equipment, and more ambitious technology with every tournament. Each success encouraged the next leap forward, and every leap made the World Cup even bigger than before. Football was no longer adapting to television. Television was beginning to evolve because of football. Then came a World Cup that changed not only how people watched football, but how they remembered it forever. For decades, the World Cup had lived in shades of gray. Supporters recognized their heroes by movement, not by the colors they wore. Then everything changed. The 1970 FIFA World Cup in Mexico became the first tournament to be broadcast internationally, in color to many audiences around the world. For millions of viewers, football suddenly looked alive. The grass was no longer a pale blur. It became a brilliant field of green. Brazil's famous yellow shirts finally shone, with the color the world had only imagined. Blue skies stretched above packed stadiums. National flags burst into life. Every celebration became more vivid. Every save felt more dramatic. Every trophy gleamed a little brighter. Television was no longer recording football. It was amplifying its emotion. The World Cup had become more than a sporting contest. It had become unforgettable television. And from that moment on, every new World Cup would be expected to look even better than the last. If color changed what people saw, the next revolution would change how close they could feel to the action. As more families gathered around their televisions, something remarkable began to happen. The audience was growing faster than anyone had predicted. Every 4 years, the World Cup attracted millions of new viewers. Then millions became hundreds of millions. Soon, entire nations were arranging their days around a single match. Broadcasters noticed something extraordinary. No scripted television show, no film, and no entertainment program could unite audiences like the World Cup. For 90 minutes, people stopped changing channels. Families watched together. Friends gathered together. Even complete strangers shared the same emotional journey. For television networks, that kind of attention was priceless. Every tournament became a race to deliver better pictures, clearer sound, and more immersive coverage than ever before. More cameras appeared around the pitch. New angles revealed moments that spectators inside the stadium could barely see. Slow-motion replays turned split-second decisions into unforgettable memories. The World Cup was no longer adapting to television. Television companies were competing to make the World Cup even more spectacular. As the audience continued to grow, so did the value of showing the tournament, and soon, the rights to broadcast the World Cup would become one of the most valuable prizes in global media. As television audiences exploded, another competition quietly began behind the cameras. It was no longer about winning the World Cup. It was about winning the right to show it. Broadcast rights gradually became one of the most valuable assets in global sport. Television networks around the world competed fiercely for the chance to bring the tournament into millions of homes. Each new World Cup attracted more viewers than the last, and with every growing audience, the value of those rights climbed even higher. What had once been a modest broadcasting agreement evolved into deals worth hundreds of millions, and eventually billions of dollars. For many broadcasters, securing the World Cup became a defining business decision, because the tournament delivered something almost impossible to create: a truly global audience watching live. Unlike films, the ending was unknown. Unlike scripted television, every moment carried real consequences. A single goal could captivate the entire planet. That unpredictability became the World Cup's greatest commercial strength. Football had become far more than a game. It had become the most powerful live story television could ever tell, and the entire broadcasting industry adapted around it. But as television grew more powerful, viewers began asking for something even more immersive. They no longer wanted to simply watch the match. They wanted to feel as though they were inside it.
By the 21st century, watching football no longer meant simply following the ball. The experience itself had become part of the spectacle. High-definition cameras revealed details that earlier generations could never have imagined. Supporters could see every expression before a penalty, every drop of rain on a player's shirt, every blade of grass flying beneath a sliding tackle. Slow-motion replay turned fractions of a second into unforgettable drama. New camera angles brought viewers closer than many fans sitting inside the stadium. Spider cams floated above the pitch. Touchline cameras captured the emotion on the bench. Ultra-slow motion transformed split-second moments into lasting memories. The broadcast was no longer recording the match. It was directing an emotional experience. Every tournament challenged broadcasters to make football feel even more immediate. The goal was no longer simply to show the World Cup. Distance had almost disappeared. The living room had become the front row of the world's biggest stadium. Then another revolution arrived. The television was no longer the only screen that mattered. The World Cup was about to fit inside every pocket. For generations, watching the World Cup meant gathering around a single television. Families planned their evenings around kickoff. Friends crowded into the same room. One screen connected everyone. Then the screen began to disappear. Not because people stopped watching football, because football learned to follow them instead. Streaming technology untethered the World Cup from the living room. Matches could now be watched on phones, tablets, laptops, and countless connected devices. A supporter commuting to work, a student between classes, or a traveler waiting at an airport could all witness the same goal live. The World Cup no longer belonged to one place. It belonged to every place. Every screen became a stadium. Every notification became the sound of kickoff. Every connection became another seat in a global audience. For the first time in history, football was no longer limited by location, or even by television itself. The World Cup had become a living global network of shared moments. And that transformation changed far more than the way we watched football. Because once billions of people could be reached instantly, the World Cup became something even bigger than a sporting event. It became one of the world's most powerful media platforms. Technology made global broadcasts possible. But technology alone could never explain the World Cup. Every 4 years, something extraordinary happens. Cities grow quieter before kickoff. Restaurants fill with supporters wearing different colors. Airports pause as travelers gather around departure screens. Entire families rearrange birthdays, holidays, and daily routines around a single match. For a few unforgettable weeks, billions of people share the same emotional calendar. They celebrate together. They suffer together. They argue, hope, and dream together. Very few events in modern history have ever united humanity in this way. That is why the World Cup became priceless to broadcasters. Not simply because people watched, but because almost nobody wanted to miss it. The greatest value of the World Cup was never measured in cameras, or satellites, or television contracts. Its true value lived in one impossible achievement. For 90 minutes, the world became one audience. And perhaps that was always the greatest broadcast ever created. Not because of the technology behind it, but because of the people in front of every screen. As the audience grew, the competition behind the cameras grew even faster. Broadcasters no longer asked whether they should buy the World Cup. They asked what they were willing to sacrifice to secure it. With each new tournament, broadcast rights reached unprecedented values. The figures climbed from millions to hundreds of millions, and eventually into the billions. Those numbers reflected far more than business. They reflected attention. In a world overflowing with endless entertainment, attention had become the rarest resource of all. And the World Cup captured it like almost nothing else. For a few extraordinary weeks, entire nations watched the same story unfold together. No script, no second take, no guaranteed ending. That uncertainty could never be recreated. It could only be witnessed. And that is why every broadcast became so valuable. Because every match offered something television could never manufacture. A moment the whole world wanted to experience before anyone else. Yet the World Cup's greatest influence reached far beyond television contracts. Its legacy would reshape the future of broadcasting itself. Every World Cup asked broadcasters to do something they had never done before. Reach more people, capture more detail, tell the story more clearly. With every tournament, new ideas became new standards. Cameras grew smaller, faster, and more capable. Live production became more ambitious. Replay technology became more sophisticated. Graphics evolved from simple scoreboards into rich storytelling tools. Audio brought viewers closer to the atmosphere inside the stadium. The expectation of flawless live coverage kept rising. What succeeded at the World Cup rarely stayed at the World Cup. Many of those innovations soon appeared across other sports, major live events, and television productions around the world. The tournament had become more than football's biggest stage. It had become a global laboratory for live broadcasting. Every 4 years, millions watched the matches. But behind every broadcast, thousands of engineers, producers, directors, and technicians quietly redefined what live television could become. That may be one of the World Cup's greatest legacies, not only changing how we watch football, but changing how the world experiences live events. From the first blurred images to billions of screens across the planet, the journey was never really about technology. It was always about people finding new ways to share the same moment. Nearly a century ago, only a fortunate few could witness a World Cup match with their own eyes. Most of the world could only imagine what had happened. Today, a single goal can reach billions of people within seconds. Children celebrated in crowded cities. Families cheer from quiet living rooms. Friends embrace in cafes, airports, schools, and public squares across the world. They may speak different languages. They may support different teams. Yet for one unforgettable moment, they share exactly the same emotion. That is the true miracle of the World Cup. It did not simply transform football into the world's biggest television show. It transformed billions of separate viewers into one global audience. The cameras will continue to improve. The screens will continue to evolve. New technologies will keep changing the way we watch the game, but none of those innovations will ever matter without the people waiting on the other side of the screen. Because the greatest broadcast in history was never measured by cameras, or satellites, or broadcasting rights. It was measured by the billions of hearts that stopped, celebrated, and dreamed together when the world was watching the same game. The World Cup did more than change football. It changed the way humanity experiences history together. And perhaps that has always been its greatest victory.